Hello, this is Tony Hiller from RealClimateScience.com. In 1918, H.L. Mencken said, "The whole aim of practical politics is to keep the populace alarmed and hence clamorous to be led to safety by an endless series of hobgoblins, most of them imaginary." Fast forward to the year 1988, and the United Nations predicted that all of the Maldives Islands would be underwater by the year 2018 and that they would run out of drinking water by the year 1992. And this is what the Maldives looks like right now at sunrise on January 11th, 2023. The Maldives appear to be doing just fine. The United Nations did not do very well with their prediction. Then in 1989, the United Nations announced that we only had until the year 2000 to save the planet from global warming. After that time, it would go beyond human control. But the planet wasn't destroyed in the year 2000, so in 2006, Al Gore extended their prediction. He said we had until the year 2016 to save the planet from global warming. After that time, the world would reach a point of no return. He was awarded the Nobel Prize for making these sort of completely nonsensical statements. The planet was not destroyed in the year 2016, and in the year 2020, at a presidential debate, Joe Biden said we only had 8 or 10 years to save the planet from global warming.
Vice President Biden, 2 minutes to you, uninterrupted.
Climate change and climate warming, global warming, is an existential threat to humanity. We have a moral obligation to deal with it. And we're told by all the leading scientists in the world we don't have much time. We're going to pass the point of no return within the next 8 to 10 years. 4 more years of this man eliminating all the regulations that were put in by us to clean up the climate, to limit limit emissions, will put us in a position where we're going to be in real trouble.
Biden said that all of the world's top scientists agreed we only had 8 to 10 years to save the planet from global warming. There was no truth to what he was saying, but of course the press failed to question or fact-check the nonsense coming out of his mouth. And Scientific American rewarded Biden for his misinformation and lies with a presidential endorsement. Scientific American has never endorsed a presidential candidate in its 175-year history. This year we are compelled to do so. We do not do this lightly. Their arguments boil down to that Joe Biden was going to save the planet from global warming and from COVID-19. But nothing Scientific American was saying was backed by any evidence. This graph shows daily readings of atmospheric carbon dioxide going back to the year 2013. Atmospheric CO2 grows at about the same rate regardless of which party is in the White House. For people who believe that carbon dioxide controls the climate, the 2020 election made absolutely no difference. The 2 years with the greatest growth of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere were 2015 and 2016, the last time Joe Biden was in the White House. After President Trump took over, the rate of atmospheric growth of carbon dioxide actually dropped a little bit. Biden claimed during the 2020 election campaign that he introduced game-changing climate legislation in 1987. But it had no impact on the growth of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and neither did any of the other dozens of climate agreements which Democrats have supported. In 2014, Obama and Biden made a big deal about their emissions treaty with China. And since they made that agreement, Chinese CO2 emissions have skyrocketed. Biden is a fraud, just as Scientific American has also become. Scientific American also said that Joe Biden was going to save us from COVID-19. But the vast majority of U.S. COVID-19 deaths have occurred since the date of the 2020 election. Once again, Joe Biden accomplished nothing. The 2020 endorsement from Scientific American was political, not scientific. During the 2020 pandemic, the press was encouraging BLM riots around the country. And at the same time the press was endorsing giant BLM riots, they said that Trump rallies were super spreader events. The press was not engaged in informing the public, but rather they were pushing a political agenda. Time magazine ran this article in 2021, "The Secret History of the Shadow Campaign That Saved the 2020 Election." Participants want the secret history of the 2020 election told, even though it sounds like a paranoid fever dream. a well-funded cabal of powerful people ranging across industries and ideologies, working together behind the scenes to influence perceptions, change rules and laws, steer media coverage, and control the flow of information. They were not rigging the election, they were fortifying it, and they believe the public needs to understand the system's fragility in order to ensure that democracy in America endures. This group of people were spreading misinformation about climate and the pandemic, as well as the Hunter Biden laptop, which they completely suppressed. They were doing the exact opposite of what they were saying. They were pushing a political agenda to overthrow the President of the United States. They called their destruction of democracy fortifying democracy. I'm going to finish this up with David Rockefeller's published memoirs. He said, "Some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists and of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty and I am proud of it." Globalists are quite open about the fact that their goal is to overthrow the U.S. Constitution as well as the U.S. government. This isn't a conspiracy theory, rather it's their own words. In 1992, Time magazine ran this editorial: "Nationhood as we know it will be obsolete. All states will recognize a single global authority." This leads me back to the Scientific American endorsement of Joe Biden. They said they were compelled to endorse Joe Biden, but they weren't compelled by facts or science, so what was it that was actually compelling them? Toto's been pulling back the curtain on this fictional climate story for the past 15 years. You can visit him, Kyrie Caesar, Toki, Upala, and the 4 new puppies on the web at realclimatescience.com.